Good evening. I'm gonna try this low latency streaming. See if it works. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? Alright, well, we'll see. Just keep saying offline. Some broadcasting applications require you to. Alright, well, I'll just take a little bit and see if this actually can be configured to work properly. Maybe it just needs a second. See how low latency is. It's about 5 seconds. 4 seconds. Alright. Well, I can try it. Alright, well, I need to get back to missions. Let's see, one of the first things, Adam was working on the post-mission screen, and he wanted this text right here that's in the foreground to be over on the left. So let's go take a look at how to actually do that. So I think right now I'm sticking everything on the foreground, so pretty much what I have to do is this foreground. Yeah, it's this post-mission stage tier thing. Alright. So we have this foreground, which is this div right here, which is post-mission tier rank list line foreground. So how this is structured, I think, is they have this big background thing, and then we've got all the stuff inside of it. So let me just see how, because we have this line clone, which is this whole line, which is this entire line. So the line is the whole thing, and then the background is getting shifted off all to hell over to the right. And then we've got the foreground, which is the progress bar. And what we're going to want is, I guess, a text bar. This thing that needs to go over here. And then we've got this line text. Yeah. So really we just need to shove a text element in here, kind of in the foreground. Like so. let's see. Foreground text is, looks like it's gone all screwy over to the right, which is fine. So the foreground element has just those classes, and we've got the foreground on the other one too, so we need foreground text for the rest of it. Yeah, it's basically what you're trying to do is you're trying to add text over on the left, but it's kind of being operated on like a whole line basis. What probably should have happened is like a div split in the middle so that you've got a left area that can be posted up and a right area that can be expanded nicely. That's kind of how HTML stuff is meant to work, so when you don't do that, it gets real fucked up real fast. So when you add like a div in here for text, it's, you know, gets smashed to nothing, and it's actually like being pushed to the next line and all sorts of weird shit. And as soon as you've got a mess on this stuff, it's real hard to get it unmessed, because as soon as you fix, like, for instance, we've got the margins here on the background that go off, you know, the whole screen. If you fix that, you never know if it's going to like break the workaround you put in the next line without knowing it. So that's why it can be a real pain in the ass to unmess things. Because you can see even here, like if we go over this text line for this line element, so it's like this line element, but then the text stuff for it is in the line above it. It's like something's having some, gonna have some fun figuring out why the fuck the text is getting put up there at some point. Alright, so that should fix the foreground text being put in the right div. Let's split it open. So the foreground text is there, but it's being put under the line below it, so we just need to go fix the style for it. Alright, post mission screen, right? Where is the CSS for it? Especially to get some of this stuff working here with the text lines, they're using relative positioning to kind of stack each other on top of each other. So it can be a little finicky with that, because the widths need to match up, and the relative styling is actually using negative tops, so they're kind of stacking back on top of each other. So if that gets changed too much, the stacking will be all screwed, and you'll get really weird. Like, oh, why did the foreground text get pushed down? Well, you increased the height of the foreground, but didn't change the negative top value of the relative position of the text, and you're like, what? So it can be difficult to do sometimes. Alright, so relative, -2.5, border radius, alright, so. Alright, so we've got the foreground text. Where's our width here? Width is 50 vmin, and then, so let's see, width for this guy should be about, is it 40 that we've got here? I think it's 40. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Anyway, I think that's kind of what you're trying to do, and you can do it with the relative styles like I just did. But if it was just a div, we could just set the width of the div, and then it'd be easier to deal with in the future. It's supposed to fill in with everything. But that's not a problem. Alright, so the left we have at 0. The width we're going to have 40. And text align synth. Whoops. Wrong thing. The height is 0.5, which is really screwy. And the top should have been -4. The height should be 3, I think. Yeah. Alright, so this background, let's take a look at the background. It's got a width of 54 vmin. Why is this border radius getting chopped off? Oh, because it's just commented out. Yeah, the other thing I would do is I would not comment anything out. But, I don't know, that's just what I do. What I found with a lot of when I'm learning something is I'll put a whole bunch of comments in there to comment stuff out. Because I'm like, oh, if I want to re-enable that, I'll go re-enable it. And over the years, I've found that those comments never fucking leave. And you end up with like a whole bunch of stuff in there that you regret ever doing. I have lots of that. So the question is, why do we have this gigantic fucking margin coming off the right of this guy? Is it that the width? No, we've got that. See, this width isn't even being used. This is what it's looking like. Because if we set the width to 54, the rest of it's being filled with a margin. Yeah, this thing is... That's... Let's see. Let's do margin right 0. See if that gets rid of it. No. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so there's this massive amount of stuff hanging off the right side. That's... Well, we'll see if that actually comes back and bites us in the ass in the future. But looks like it works for now, at least. Yeah, that's usually the reason why I have version control stuff. And what I'll do is, you know, say I've got a file there. This is the post mission screen, so what I'll do is I'll just be like, well, what the hell did I do? And do diff against have revision after right clicking on it, and I'll see, oh, okay, well, I added foreground text in there. And then I can look at what I did in the JavaScript. And it'll show me exactly what I changed. So it's like, okay, well, I added, you know, foreground text object here. That's where we're setting the text now instead of foreground. So that's stuff I find really handy. But it takes years of practice to learn how to do this sort of stuff. For instance, I can go to file history on the CSS for the post mission screen, and I'll pull up everything that's been going on so I can, you know, diff against the previous revision so I can see exactly what you did. Like, here's what you did. The objectives now have text shadows. Looks like we got a fixed background colors for just about everything. The text sizes got changed for the list lines, and that's about it for the CSS. Or what you did previously that day. So you could go back in here and be like, how was that styled? And you can just go, snag absolutely everything back if you need to. But as I said, like, even on Maelstrom, I'm working with some of the, like, their engineer who's been around forever isn't familiar with Perforce, and he's like, how do I back out a change list? And something that should be super simple, such as, well, you just go to your change list history, you right click, and you just do back out submitted change list. It's like, it takes engineers years to know how to do that crap, and they have a more vested interest in learning this technology than an artist or content creator does. Alright, so I need to figure out what I'm going to do with persistence for missions. So let me look. So for persistence right now, that's where we are. I need to store the information for the user. So let's see, what do I need to store? I should probably look up my game objects to see what I need for that. Yeah. I'm gonna get back into the other stuff that's just saving stuff. Alright, so missions have different statuses. We have locked. How do we know if a mission is locked or not? Alright, we also have cutscene completion, so I guess perhaps if you've beaten a stage, then the cutscenes don't play unless always play is true. for these guys? Let me think. I would like to have one row in the database for every single one of our missions, but you can't really have arrays inside of, you know, databases like that. So what are we gonna do? What are our rules? Well, we could have a separate system for cutscenes, such as we could have a scene sort of thing where we do cutscene data. So we would have our cutscene context, and then we would have if we have seen it or not. We would probably also have if this was locked. So I'm also trying to think of how do we unlock missions, such as does one previous mission have to point to the next one to unlock it? I think so. So missions need to unlock other missions, and those are like conditions for that. I guess it would be unlocked by. Oh man, alright. Let me think. Because what we'd want to do for missions to have unlocks, we'd want unlock conditions such as this mission you got this rank on. So we need it's going to be an array of all right. Okay. So what we're going to need. We need mission unlocks. Alright, so we need an unlocked by. Okay, so we're going to be unlocked by a mission, so the mission name, and we'll also have a completion tier, I believe. going to need to save that. So let's close a whole bunch of this stuff we don't need. Okay, cool. So we've got that. So let's go implement it. So that'll be our unlocked conditions. That'll allow us to persist. That'll allow us to make the rules for if something's unlocked or not. So we don't actually need to store that a mission is unlocked. And the reason is because we'll build that dynamically based on your results after we load it. Alright, that makes sense to me. So we don't need if it's locked. So do we need if we've completed it? I mean, we already have this whole results history. So we can just use that, I think. We don't have any extra data. The only stuff that we don't have then is the cutscene information. So we need a cutscene data storage container thing. The question is, should we make a blob storage situation for some of this? Or should we make a something else? Because if I make kind of a blob game data storage thing, then I don't have to make a whole bunch of crap for it. I can just make a thing. So maybe I should do that. That's probably the best plan. So why don't we just... Alright, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I think a blob storage sort of thing for generic game data is going to be a better approach than a fully structured system, because I don't have the server validating that you can watch a cutscene. That's just silly. Like, we don't need that. And it looks like tomorrow is also going to be a Maelstrom update. And this one's going to have their Linux servers on it, is what it looks like. Which has become a much higher priority all of a sudden for them, because they just got their monthly bill for the first month. And the dude's like... It's one of those things that you don't actually give a damn about stuff until it kind of just sneaks up on you, slaps you in the face. All of a sudden, you get that bill sitting in your hand, and a line item on a credit card, and you're like, "Oh my God, I have to pay for that?" It's like, yeah, you have to pay for that. Alright, the other thing that we got is the tier, right? So new unlock. Can I spell tier properly? Alright, so we'll snag that. We need to fill out convert to mission unlock. I mean, it's just one of those things, you know. I wouldn't fault them for they're a lot more shoestring than I would ever be comfortable running. Like we've got some things that are screwy, but it's not like that screwy. Our problems are more that we only have 2 people. Seems to be unlocked on mission name. Alright, let's get that. So the next thing we need to do is, this is on the stage and it's an array, so this is on the mission and this is an array, so we have to do T-array of mission unlocks. Get out of here, MySQL. That means it's tomorrow. It's May the 4th. The generic. We came up with a new holiday for Star Wars Day because we want to sell more action figures. May the 4th live long and prosper. It's true. And I think that's also kind of funny that, you know, we've got the whole Star Trek versus Star Wars debate that I think used to be a debate until the new Star Trek movies. And the new Star Trek movies are actually, like, they're not really Star Trek movies. So it's not even a debate anymore. It's like, it's the same shit now. It's just science fantasy. Hello, Divine C. What is my thought on Emacs? I am a heathen. I use Notepad++, and I'm not a fan of. I'm a fan of light themes. Obviously, I have no taste, and I don't like any editing I do. Like, I am a server engineer. I've been a server engineer for like 8 years. Worked at Amazon, Electronic Arts, all these other places. Always done like Linux servers and everything. And like the only time I use Vim and VI and all that is just editing crap when I'm actually on a server, and they're stupid. If I'm ever doing anything, it's just, all the people who get all pissed off about Emacs and like all this other bullshit about text editors can flat out go fuck themselves. Because I've been also pretty much after the first 2 years, I've been in charge of, you know, platform teams of sometimes up to 15 people, and the people who get all pissed off about their text editors can just go to hell. Like, you know, it's like as the boss organizing people, like I could give a shit if you're like writing in stone tablets or cuneiform like clay presses, as long as you get your shit done on time. Like, keep your tabs and spaces argument on the internet and away from my workstation. It requires it because you have to connect to a Linux server to develop our class labs. Well, it's really important to know at least a little bit about how to... if you're going to do any server development with Linux, you need to know how to operate on a command line. So you don't need to be like super amazing, ridiculous, I know all the shortcuts in Emacs or VI or Vim or whatever. But if you don't know how to exit a program, like how many people just Alt F4 out of a console because they don't know how to do right quit or quit from inside of VI? It's a lot. So at least be able to edit stuff and set permissions properly. But unless you're a very special sort of individual, you don't need to be an expert in it. You just need to know how to not get stuck. But yeah, I've had people pull out papers about like text editors, and it's one of those where you just know, like, right, I wanted to have a 4-hour meeting right now. Thank you so much for this. At the end of this, we can all agree that we should enforce nothing and that somebody feels strongly about it. Anyway, go eat, have fun, and don't listen to me. I give bad advice. Alright, so we need an F mission unlock. Thank you for following Divine C. For all the best rants of all time. So this will be our new unlock. So fill from mission unlock. We're going to pass in unlock and new unlock and mission dot unlocked by add. It would have been nice if they had taught me anything about Linux in college, but we did not learn jack about Linux, and I was not better for it. Because the first time I had to actually go remote into a Linux server, I was lost. Like, for instance, so if you open up a text editor, this is a text editor on the console. I can show you how non-intuitive this is. Alright, so I opened up a text editor. Let's start typing text. Okay, I started typing. Hi, this is some text. Okay, how do I save this? Somehow I'm in insert mode. If I hit escape? No, escape does nothing. Okay, now I can't type. I'm hitting keys and nothing's happening. Oh wait, I'm in insert mode again. How did that happen? Okay, cool. Yeah. Alright, I'm out of insert mode. So, what's the most intuitive way to save this? Well, obviously it's to hit the colon key, which brings up a little menu that you might not even notice because it's so small down there. And you might be like, alright, cool, I want to quit. No write since last change, add blah to override. Well, I want to write, so can I write? Okay, it's written. Now I can do quit. Okay, so that's text. So if it's basically you hit I to actually start typing stuff, then you can type stuff, and then you have to hit escape, and then you have to hit colon to bring up the menu, and then from there you can do things. So basically it's like right quit and stuff like that, which is R, WQ and all this other shit. Don't do QW because that doesn't work. Anyway, most people, when they're doing this, will get to some point, they'll edit something, get stuck, and then literally, like, they can't get out of it. Like, you can't control C, and it's like, type quit enter to quit. So you're like, okay, quit. And then it's like, I can't quit. And you're just like, fuck, it said to, quit, to quit, but it didn't quit because I typed something. And maybe I didn't, I don't know. And then you just Alt F4 because you give up on life. That's what happens to a lot of people. Mission completion. No, this is unlocked. This is mission unlock. It's the wrong one. I don't know, get it? Yeah, because I started as a server engineer and I was supposed to write stuff that would save into a database on a Linux server. I had never used Linux, I'd never used Java, and I had never used a database. And it was suddenly my job to be in charge of all three of those things for a Facebook game at EA. So I did what any other person would do in that situation. I said I got it under control and went back to my desk and started Googling how to do anything. Can you do that? Well, I'm broke right now, so yes. I can do whatever you need done, sir. Hey, it worked though. And if we had stuck with my ideas on that project, we probably would still be running the damn game instead of shutting it off because some idiot thought it'd be a great idea to use Cassandra and then to use Mongo and then to switch between those things. Alright, so if we have a blob storage situation for this game, basically what I'm going to want is a certain amount of data that I can shove into the database for a user, and that's just going to contain blah. And we're going to use the same data format for that locally. So that should be good. I'm going to need to make an object for it. Alright. And that's all just pissed off because I misspelled mission unlock. It doesn't have 3 ends. It could, but it doesn't. I just think that's funny as hell. Some college professor. I mean, I can just picture this. Some college professor who didn't get a higher paying job in the software industry because academic coding. All right, let's see. Convert to mission unlock. These need to be pointers, don't they? Because I can just see it now. Basically, academic coding and like coding for a game or for something else is very different. Academics are very much more concerned with being right about shit than they are about getting shit done, which can lead to a lot of things, such as it doesn't matter that your program works and makes money. All it matters is that you typed it in the right format and specifications according to some peer-reviewed board of people that are important because they're important. So I can just see some college professor basically saying, like, you have to use this editor because this is the editor that everybody uses who's worth anything, and it's the only editor I approve of, and all this other crap about I'm so right all the time. And at the end of the day, it's like you're just writing fucking text. Like, just, it's okay, buddy. Calm down. Because it's absolutely impossible to take text from a Windows computer written in whatever you want and put it in the Linux system. It's just impossible. You can't do it. You cannot copy text between computers. It is absolutely impossible. You cannot do it. And if you do it, you are in violation of something, and you should receive a lower grade. Alright, so that'll be the mission unlocked by stuff. Alright, so if we go to our missions and we load our local missions, what we want to do is load all this stuff, right? So unable to find missions directory. Do we have like a validate? Load mission data, load local missions. Yeah, so we want in our export process to actually do a little bit of validation of these missions before we just throw them in our file system. Because if we have unlocks here and the missions don't exist, I needed to throw warnings and be angry with you. So I think it was under commands. Yeah, Dashkin commands. So what are some things that we've got? Generate code, exporting all missions, validate the missions, all of unique names. All right, so delete all missions. Okay, so let us check right here exactly what we need to do. This is export missions. It is a static thing, so let's do a static void, actually static bool, validate missions. And what should we take? We should probably take an array of mission data, right? There we are. So let's get our stuff rolling. And we're going to need to figure out all sorts of stuff about these missions. So let's validate them here. If not valid, we are going to return error log. Unable to validate missions. Fix them or they won't be updated with your changes. So what are some things that we want to make sure? One, no two missions can have the same name. All missions must have at least one stage. All stages must have a valid mission, valid map. Let's see. All stages must have at least all missions have to have at least one objective. I guess we should have some warnings on here. Let's see, stages. Missions must have some condition for diamond. For tiers, I guess. Alright. So let's do a T set of F strings for mission names. Let's first convert all these guys into mission pointers, though. Convert to game mission. All right. Let's see, what is our documentation for T-sets in Unreal? Give me the fucking technical documentation. I don't need the high-level, ridiculous documentation that doesn't help. What the documentation tells me what functions there are. Alright, it contains. Missions must have a name. That's also true. So if mission.name is equal to nothing, and let's see, is it asset name dot toString? Okay, so all of our missions should be added to our array now at least, and we can go through them. I guess I should just go through them all right in a row here, shouldn't I? So, well, I need them later for the unlock, so I need all of them. Alright. All missions must have at least one stage. What is it? F mission? Alright. Let's make this a little bit easier on ourselves. Alright, so mission dot what stages dot num. Let's see. Mission must have at least one stage, check asset, blah. Okay, all stages must have a valid map. Thank you for following PJ Cooey. I assume that stands for pajamas for guinea pigs. But welcome. Pajamas for roast guinea pigs in Peru. Alright, so stages must have valid maps, so map. So let's see, what is this map? EBS game map.